Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Brian. We're going to wrap up today with a Sounds from My Inbox. It's where I check out smaller bands who have got in contact with me and asked me to look into their works. We have 4 songs today from 4 bands. Unfortunately, I could only find lyrics to one of them, so we're going to be skipping the lyrical aspect of the breakdowns today for most of the tracks. Kicking it off, though, we're going to be looking at LILI Refrain. The email says LILI is a solo artist and performer that builds her sound around layering analog loops using electric guitars, synths, percussions, and vocals in order to create an emotional soundscape that moves between cinematic, tribal, opera, metal, and so much more. Sounds like it's going to be a blast. I love live looping. I think it's a very interesting modern art in music creation. So I'm excited to get into this and see how all of these different sounds come together to create whatever LILI is doing. Let's dive into it. So we have some throat singing over here on the left, very wide harmonies. Very cool harmonies. Hmm. Okay. I feel like that's an interesting choice for this. See, there's another music video. It's a year old though, so maybe it doesn't. Yeah, this is the 5th studio album from LILI, so maybe they specifically wanted to pick something from this one. But there is one from a year ago that's almost 6 minutes long, and something tells me that that's going to have a bit more diversity within it, possibly. It's interesting that the press release I got said that the soundscapes move between so many different genres, and this song is static as it is. I think it's a fine song. I don't think there's a problem with it. But I think it's definitely an album track. I find it interesting that it is a single, unless it's designed specifically to juxtapose the sounds that previous symbols have in order to create a varied marketing element. You know, you've heard LILI do this, you've heard her do this. Now check out this fully ambient stuff. To get people hyped up for the upcoming album or whatever. But I don't know that this was a fantastic one for a reaction, for a first time listen. if anything, if you're in the same boat as I am and you're intrigued by this, the live looping element and the genre diversity interest you, I'm going to be checking out more of this on my own. Maybe I'll end up doing a full reaction to something. If it catches my ear, I'll pick a song I haven't listened to yet and dig into that. But I urge anyone else to further dive into her works as well if you're intrigued by this little snippet here. As far as an analysis on it, it is a pad synth in the background crafting our chord progression with a repeated harmonized vocal rhythmic line. It sounds like syllables. I don't know if it is a language or not. It's certainly not English though, so I really don't know if it's just sounds created with the mouth or if there are lyrics to this on the foundational aspect. But there's like 4 or 5 clean vocal harmonies in this stack, creating the chord, and then we also have off on the left some throat singing, giving us a nice gritty compressed texture to go along with all of this. It adds on to what that synth pad is doing in the background, which is a little compressed as well. It has a little bit of bite to it, and it helps to lean into a bit more of that aggressive sound while still retaining this light airiness that the majority of the vocal harmonies is that they are giving us. It is a really great atmosphere that's crafted through all of these elements. And I love the harmonies themselves too, not just the stack that we get from these foundational sets of vocals, but also how they pair off against the lead element, the notes that we get there, and how they redefine some of the chords by adding in extended notes to them. Speaking of, that lead melody is gorgeous, not only in the composition, in the way that the notes work against our chord progression, the way that they feel against the overall atmosphere of the track, but also in the performance of it as well. Each note is very clearly attacked. There is just such a crispness to the way that she is able to just hit a note immediately where she needs it to be and begin that vibrato right at the beginning. It leans into the operatic style. Operatic vocalists go through years of training. Like I expect this sort of precision from somebody who can sing like this, but it still is something that continues to impress me and sounds good to my ear every single time. You can always tell when somebody has years of practice under their belt of singing specifically, just by how accurate and crisp and clean their performance is. There's certainly an element of personalization that you can add into slurs and dips and sliding into notes. There's no right way to sing, of course, but when we get something like this, I'm just like, there is just utter control, a mastery of muscles going on here. And yeah, I absolutely love it. The vibrato's gorgeous. The range is amazing. Going all the way down to the throat singing, which I don't think uses vocal cords. It's not really a pitch, is it? But anyways, there is a perception of pitch, at least, all the way to the highs of some of these operatic parts in the lead. It's a gorgeous song. As I mentioned at the beginning, there's nothing wrong with the song at all. It is fantastic. I love it. It sets a great mood and atmosphere, and it is like 80% done with vocal stuff. It's basically a cappella. I'm here for that always. It's just an interesting choice to introduce somebody to LILI's works, especially since it's a music video that isn't live looped. Maybe it is. I have no idea what the studio recording process is, but I don't have visualizations of the loop. And it seems like if that's a core element of her production, it's a visual component. And that's something a lot of the music videos should probably be related to. But it's also possible that as it's her 5th studio album, most of her fans know that she live loops and she went for more of an artistic music video on this one instead. That's always possible. Again, I think a lot of it boils down to this being my entrance point to her work. and it being sort of an oddity as an entrance point. It works really well for established fans, I'm sure. But we're getting a bit far away from the music itself, and I think I've said my piece on that, so let's push forward with our next group. Apollonir is a band that we checked out a while ago. And since then, they've released their second EP, The Living Fountain. This came out in September of last year, completely flew under my radar, which kind of sucks because I remember enjoying Apollonir and wanting to dig into them more. And I think I checked out their first EP, but I didn't even know that this one released. And so I'm kind of happy to find out, hey, you know, there's some more music from this group, but I'm a bit bummed that I didn't check it out last year because based on what I've heard from them before, it probably would have ended up in my favorite EPs of 2023 video from a couple weeks back. The last song that we checked out from them was called Jack. It was kind of in the emo post-hardcore territory, which is, you know, it's probably why I liked it so much. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what they're doing now. Let's dive into it. Yeah, so we have this driving rhythm. It's heavy, and then it comes to this bounciness. The alternating snare and bass kick. A really fun way to end that section. Interesting, given pushing the guitar so far back. Very interesting combination here. Keeping the darkness in the guitar chords while bringing in a pop punk brightness in the lead melody line. Bass coming in heavy. So is this our pre-chorus? Yeah, okay, I like that variation. We still got the hazy guitar part of the pre-chorus, but it was reduced down to give the secondary harsh vocal bit. Yeah, I gotta check out the other 5 songs. I'm gonna wager that goes into the next track. Yep. 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 I need to check that out. I love it. It's it's interesting to me because it pulls in elements of post-hardcore, of emo, of pop punk, all genres I grew up on, and still finds a way to surprise me. A lot of the decisions in here are ones I would expect. When we got to that, after the second verse, we had another harsh vocal section, and I was like, "Oh, is this our pre-chorus this time around?" I accurately called that the variation in that section. There's a lot of decisions in here that feel right. They line up with my expectations given what other bands in the genres have done before. But there's also quite a few places that ended up surprising me, and the band consistently found ways to change what they had done. Nothing was static, and I think I really love that. Whether it's the second chorus bringing in an acoustic guitar with the distant vocals for a quarter of it. Like we had the pop punk style music. We had two groupings of that, so like 8 bars, and then the second group of 4 bars was the acoustic one, and then our final group of 4 bars went back to the original feel. There's always some way that they decided to change things up, and I really appreciate that. I think it gives the song a lot of characteristic and, more importantly, depth. As much as I love this type of music, I'll be the first to acknowledge a lot of post-hardcore and emo music isn't exceptionally deep as far as variation or structure, anything like that. And so to create all these micro variations throughout the track, yeah, 100% it taps into my nostalgia for this style of music, while also just tickles my brain in all of the ways that I love about contrast and dynamic writing and exploring new sounds. And it's all done in a way that feels cohesive. Very few of the sections felt like they come out of left field. There is an emphasis on ensuring that there's a type of flow to the song, despite all the changes to the ways that they move into and out of ideas. I totally dig all of that. There's also that really unique element of the chorus where the melody feels at home in a pop punk track. But the guitar work is quite a bit darker than I would expect. Both the heaviness of the guitar tone and the darkness of the chord progression. It matches the darkness that we see in the verse, specifically even the harsh vocal section of the verse. And it's something that's not too uncommon in post-hardcore. And it's really interesting to hear those two sides meld together, the brightness and poppiness of the vocals with the darkness and grittiness and weight of the guitars. Usually, even when a band will employ both sides, pop punk and post-hardcore, they'll do them in opposition. We will have a heavier verse and a lighter chorus. Metalcore is really great about this as well, with their own sets of harmonic rules that they tend to explore. Rules, constraints? General constraints? Yeah, we'll go with that. Not rules, but there are general harmonies that genres tend to work within. Anyways, getting a little off topic there. To hear the two smashed together, though, was really interesting because of the competing coloring of it. Like I said, it's bright, but it's dark. It's light, but it's heavy. It's not bad, and certainly by the end of the track, I'd come around to it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It caught me off guard on that first chorus. Just wasn't expecting it. It's a very unique sound. Additionally, the vocal work is fantastic. The guitar riffs in here are great. Another thing about contrast and changing things up is there's a drum part. I don't remember if it was in the intro or if it was the first verse, but we had we had 3 repetitions of the phrase of something that's a bit groovier and driving, and then the final repetition that starts the loop over again was this alternating bass kick and snare that kind of had like this bouncy poppiness to it. And I really love that. Once again, they could have just stuck with that, with the groove that they already had, maybe put a fill in at the end and start over, but they decided to change up the pace of things just a little bit, and it creates this really nice bounciness at the end of it that lightens everything up. And that actually is one of the things I think I enjoyed most about this, is it's the duality of everything. All of the darkness is balanced out with light in here, and the lightness is balanced out with darkness, sometimes in succession, where we have one style one way and then there's an intermission, a little moment of the opposite. But like with the chorus, we get to hear both sides simultaneously. And so it comes through as a track that is willing to experiment to a degree with certain sounds, but not push it too far into the realms of unfamiliarity. And it's my type of experimentation right here. And I'm totally on board for what they're doing. Like I said, I've enjoyed their work in the past. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to this. In fact, given that it's only 17 and a half minutes long, I'm probably going to listen to this today. Alright, this next group sent me an exceptionally lengthy email with a ton of background information and details regarding their sound and how they created their music and the process they go through, and it was very cool to read through, but it would make this a bit of a lengthy video, so I'm going to paraphrase it a bit for you. Winterhorde is an Israeli progressive extreme metal group. The essence of their music has always been to create a dynamic sound that conveys a lot of emotions, influences, and styles, from vicious and relentless aggression to softer, more atmospheric passages to parts that are more groove-oriented. It's not a concept album, but it does have a conceptual theme of pursuing ambitions and achieving the impossible. We're going to be looking at the track A Harvester of Stars. I'm expecting a bit of a different side of music here. After having an atmospheric track and an emo post-hardcore track, we have some extreme metal. I think we're going to flip to the opposite side of the sonic spectrum. Let's dive in, see what Winterhorde is bringing to the table. Beautiful bass tone. Stop the pouring rain and wash away your pain. The faded skies will shine again like seraphim in flames. Creating a great atmosphere with this. A lot of intrigue. I want to know what happens next. It's a nice build up from the beginning, but where are we taking it? Drums keeping this driving with those bass kicks and snare hits. The bass guitar is doing some really nice walking stuff. There we go. So we pushed it to a 3/4 here. Just flip that extreme switch off. Let's get back to the regular progressive metal. Oh, I like that keyboard line. Ooh. I wonder what those are. I mean, I guess they don't have to be musical instruments. Just be any sort of like metal clanking around. And it's going for a real heavy outro. Okie dokie. Yeah, that was a blast to listen to. It's we start off with something very atmospheric. It takes us a while to get into the song proper. It's a very lengthy intro to this, which I think does a fantastic job of setting the scene, setting the mood and atmosphere on this. And we bring in a majority of, the riffs that we're working with. The vocals come in, the drums come in heavier and less sparse. We get into the meat of the song, and I'm thinking, this is kind of Dream Theater-ish to be called extreme metal. I was like, maybe something's around the corner, but I've also very rarely, if ever, been introduced to a band that sort of does both sides of progressive metal. The extreme side with the death growls and more technical, like tech death guitar riffs and stuff, the blast beats, the shrieks and all that, and to do the more Dream Theater-y progressive metal, which I feel has more of roots with progressive rock, just using more metallic sounds with the guitars and drums, and still kind of having that wide vibrato on the vocal style and the lighter guitar sounds, exploring more harmonic and metric ideas than brutal musical concepts. So I wasn't really expecting that switch in the middle, and I'm glad that they did. Because like I said, I don't think I've heard anyone correct me if I'm wrong. It's possible we've checked out a band on the channel in the past 4.5 years, I think, that that certainly fits the bill, but I can't remember one. I think that would stand out to me because that's pretty big. There's two sides of progressive metal, and I just can't think of any that cross over. And so it's very cool to see them do. Oh, you know what though? Okay, good night. That's a bit more modern, but they cross over a little bit. Anyways, though, yeah, just completely blown away with this. Really enjoyed what was going on. Some of the heavier stuff was a bit much for me, and honestly, some of the lighter progressive metal stuff kind of got a bit cheesy for me, moving into like a power metal realm. I think it all sort of ends up being a grouping of endearing for me. They they go hard no matter what angle they're going at, and I can appreciate that. Um, but yeah, so like the atmospheric stuff at the beginning, completely solid. They did a great job of creating a mood and atmosphere, as I've already said. We get into the lighter progressive metal stuff, 100%. They're doing this well. The guitar riffs feel right. The harmonies and chords and keys they're in feel perfect for this style. The vocal style is perfect. I mentioned the wide vibrato, the harmonies, the walking bass lines, the more technical yet restrained drum work. All of this really speaks to me as metal influenced by classical and jazz. Um, and then we hit the midway point, and we get shred, we get blast beats, we get growls, we get snarls, we get black metal vocals, the higher range compressed harshes. There's just and once again, total shift of the harmonic area. I think the key changes entirely. The guitar solos feel harmonically so distant from the cleaner vocal sections. And it's not even just that they stop at having these three distinct sections either. There is one moment, and we saw it towards the end. We have clean vocals on top of the heavy guitars with the darker harmonic elements. This definitely fits more into the aggressive extreme metal realm, but we have the clean vocals on top of it, harmonizing, and the entire section is very atmospheric. I think all the guitars are playing one note and they're chugging away at it with like dun dun digga digga dun dun digga digga dun dun, some sort of rhythmic thing going on while mostly focusing on one single note. This part becomes very atmospheric. The keyboard switches off to these strings that are just like soaring above everything else. We have these vocals coming in. They're a bit lower. They're kind of close to the spoken word stuff we had at the beginning, but they're still sung. They're not the higher range belting stuff that we had heard earlier, though, when we had cleans. And they do a great job of showcasing all these sounds together as well. And of course, they end it in a very theatric way, having the songs slowly get stripped back and slowed down. Yeah, this is a great introduction to this group. Kind of gives a taste of everything. As I mentioned when I got the email, it says that they can be aggressive, they can be softer and atmospheric, they can be groove oriented. I think they nailed all of them in this track. It feels the guitarist showed us lighter, more progressive metal styles of guitar solos. We heard more tech death styles of guitar solos. The bass had walking bass lines and just brutal eighth note. Just keep picking one note and just allow it to fill out the low end. The drums had sparser, more technical ideas and heavy handed blast beats. The keyboardist did lead and atmospheric. The vocals, we had like 2 or 3 different harshes, and then the cleans and the spoken word. They crammed everything they are into one track, and I think from that perspective, it absolutely nails it at being a single. This is the one song, the one video you show to people when they're like, who's Winterhorde? Why should I listen to them? This is it. Many songs on the album, I would wager, might focus more heavily on one idea or another, but this song feels like it showcases everything from them. The last one today, I'm kind of a little nervous about. So I got an email, and it said, you may know me from my work in Ruby Volume 9. Now, Ruby isn't, I don't know what it is. Is it an anime? It's a web cartoon, web animation. I don't know. It's not super big as far as I know, but it's not a small production by any means either. It's still fairly popular even outside the realms of the internet. And this person's tied to that. I was kind of blown away. But then they also told me that I've reacted to their works before, and I was like, what? No way. And they're the guitarist for OK Goodnight and Atomic Guava. Former guitarist of OK Goodnight. I don't know if they're in Atomic Guava still or not. Regardless, we've checked out both of those bands on the channel before. This person's name is Martin Gonzalez, and they're working on a solo album. We're going to be checking out the latest single from it. The album drops March 22nd and will feature Richard Henshaw from Haken and Zach Zinger, whose works you can hear in video games such as Street Fighter, League of Legends, and Elden Ring. Additionally, this track features Elizabeth Hole, who you may recognize as the lead singer of Atomic Guava and was featured on the OK Goodnight song that we checked out last, which was The Bear. So I guess I'm done fanboying. I'm kind of nervous to do this now. Let's dive into it. The track's called Ouroboros, featuring Elizabeth Hole. Let's dive into it. Somebody hold me back. All lies for retribution. The undeserving presides. Whose hand knows better than my own? I love that run-up right there. Completely shifted the harmonic feel of the song. Such a jazzy run-up in that melody. Once a predator, the nature of the snake rebels. Turns nail to gorge upon itself. What say the jury? Bring the gavel down. With all of these words atop my tongue, someone ought to teach your mouth to bite down when it's overflowing. Ooh, that lift there on flowing. Love the production on this section. The whole rhythmic element of the vocal rhythms versus the guitar. Oh, it's a really nice polyrhythmic thing going on there. The guitar mimicking or echoing the vocal line. Ooh, whoa. So, okay, yeah, that's in 4/4. It's still a 16-beat phrase, but there's like 3 different phrasings. We got the guitar, we have the background vocals, the shouted ones, we have the clean vocalizations in the front, and they're all in different phrasings. Beautiful outro here. What? I don't know if this is part of the song or if it's just for the video for the credits. It makes no sense against the rest of the track, but it is gorgeous on its own. Yeah, that was wonderful. That comes out March 22nd. That's already on my release list. I mean, it's not, but it will be. As soon as I stop recording this video, it's getting tossed in there. Because I need to listen to this on release day. I'm too excited for it. Yeah, so like, I don't think I can be partial on this. I don't think I can be, maybe partial is not the right word. I can't be unbiased here. I absolutely love this. It is gorgeous in every area. Dang. It never really lets up either. Here's an idea, and before the idea is even over, we've begun to introduce some variation to it that leads into the next idea. And before you can really get a grasp on what that's doing, we've already introduced some new ideas that's going to take us to the next. It is a song that's never content with being what it is, while also just effectively doing what it's doing at any given time to such a high level of skill. And I think I don't know, man. That's to me, that's the optimal way to write. To always be looking one step ahead to see where you need to go, while also ensuring that what you're doing leaves somebody listening that they don't want to go anywhere else. Like each moment is so great to listen to, but the song's always like, well, where do we go next? We need to start working towards that. We need to start building towards it. We need to start doing it now. And like, I'd be okay if this song was like 2 of these ideas, 3 of these ideas, and yet there's like 8 sections in here, all doing different things. It is consistently great, exceptionally varied. Man, and like that's only like the general look on things. Like we get a bit more granular and we talk about rhythmic syncopation between the drums and guitar and the vocals, and how they'll sometimes be in opposition but working together to create polyrhythmic ideas. Particularly when you listen to some of the harsh vocal sections, which tend to be textural and rhythmic more so than melodic, but even during some of the melodic sections, they'll line up. The like the first melodic section we have in here It's playing around with dotted notes. And we have like bum 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 bum, and it has like this syncopation to it where they continuously come in on the and of the next beat, and it kind of makes it feel like it's dragging a bit, but then it's impactful. Like it has these accent points on it. And so it feels very deliberately behind, which makes it feel like the song's slowing down, not that they're playing behind it. But what's really cool is that they line up on these for a couple of times, and then like the third time in this pattern, the guitars will come in first, and then the vocals will come in a bit after them. So it feels even more delayed at that point. And it's just like, again, you already have a cool idea and you're expanding on it. It would have been fine as it was, and you weren't happy with that. You had to make it even better. It's yeah, but again, it's the way that they play off of each other rhythmically, I think works really well. Even when they're rhythmically in sync, they desync in order to create syncopation. That word's starting to sound weird now. The jazzy elements, I love every single one of them. Like, so the song is has this really strong, genty, progressive metal thing going on underneath it. It's these chunky guitar sounds with lots of rhythmic syncopation going on and playful rhythms. Lots of palm muted things sitting on one note and just rhythm and texture. And so we get growls on top of that, and it's the growls sound like what or harshes. I don't know what kind of harshes they are. They sound like what I would expect out of it. And then out of nowhere, we'll get some cleans that start out in a more metallic sound and then move into jazzy harmonic qualities. This usually also comes with an expansion of the guitar, going from usually a palm muted single note to opening up that single note to a chord and then moving towards jazzier chords as well, in order to fully facilitate this expanded melodic range that the vocalist is encapsulating. It's yes, everything in this track just works together so well. Everything is done in tandem to maximize the effectiveness of the goal at hand, whether it's a rhythmic goal, a textural goal, an atmospheric goal, or a melodic harmonic one. Yeah, everything's just everything just works together. We had some exceptional layering towards the end of the track that continued to explore rhythmic ideas alongside harmonic ones. The vocals, I mean, I feel like a broken record at this point. This is the third time that we've had Elizabeth on the channel, whether it was in Atomic Guava, the band that she sings for, or featured, or a track that she's been featured on. I don't know that I can praise her vocals anymore. She has the gnarliest heavy while still being able to have these beautiful cleans that are paired with just a really strong ability to hit notes clearly. I don't know if I've expressed this before, I probably have, but I'm curious if Elizabeth started in harshes and then moved to learning cleans, or if she went the other way around. Because her cleans feel like she's traditionally educated in that realm. She's had vocal training for cleans. So I'd wager she started on cleans, but yeah, they're just man, and they're all jazzy. Absolutely loves those jazzy progressions. They're all over the place in here. But we also have some pop ideas present as well, which I really loved. I'm a huge fan of adding pop elements to anything, so I'm a sucker for that. It's just I think I only have one complaint about the track, and it's that the drums feel expected. I suppose would be the word for it. I got to hear more of the tracks from this album before I make any widespread assumptions about how they go about creating and composing the drum parts. But at least for this track, the drum is consistently doing what the guitar is doing, and I wouldn't say that the drums ever have anything that I found to be interesting. They were accentuating what the guitar and vocalist were doing, which is not a bad way to write music, but with so much complexity from the guitar line, from the harmonic elements, from the key changes, the chord progressions, the vocal lines. It feels really strange that then we just have the expected drum work for a gent style song instead of having it also contribute to the awesome complexities of it. And from that angle, it just sounds to me as if the drums were written by somebody who's not a drummer. They're not bad, they're just standard. And I say that from experience. I do not write great drum patterns either. I am not a drummer. My drum patterns are either super boring or I've written them as if they were a trumpet. Uh, and I don't know which one is either. I don't know that either one of them is really great, but it's how I write drums because I don't know. Drums are kind of foreign to me. They're not melodic. I try to force them to be because it's the only way I know how to write. And so I kind of get some of that here too. I think it would be awesome if there isn't already to have a progressive metal drummer help at least compose it. You can still use a drum machine. I think this was done with a drum machine. Yep. We have Martin on guitars, composition, production, and mix, with Elizabeth on vocals, lyrics, and piano. I don't remember hearing a piano. I got to give this song another listen. This just gives me an excuse. I definitely need to listen to it again now. But yeah, even if you stick with digital drums, get a drummer to compose them, just to give it that extra oomph. You're like at a 9.5 here. We got to aim for that 10. You can do it, Martin. I believe in you. Give me a second to read through some lyrics. We'll see how any of this compares with the musical themes that we explored, and then we'll wrap this video up. So lyrically, this track appears to be about being judged solely by the worst things you've ever done. It's not ever taking a full look at you as a person, taking snapshots of your lowest moments. And speaking out against that in a sort of, look through the mirror, look at yourself as well kind of idea going on here. I don't know if that's what everything is about. As usual, lyrics aren't my strong suit, but, well, and there are a few lines that I don't think particularly hold up against that reading, but for the most part, I think that's what's going on here. Speaks about a biased judge and the facts being presented to a jury are only the worst elements of this person. And it says, no stain expunged out of sympathy, never mind the need for reminding. I am nothing but the lesions, my worst mistakes will bleed me out. But who are you? So bring the gavel down. Basically, a really complex song, lyrically, that says, judge not, lest ye be judged yourself. Very well done. Musically, I don't know that I can find any thematic cohesion between the two sides. It's just great lyrics on top of great music. Not, like I always say in the past, not a bad thing. And sort of what I was expecting with the music as it was. There's specific styles of music that are just like super rule of cool, sounds great. I don't expect lyrical cohesion with those, and this sort of falls in line with that. However, I do like the duality of this track. There is a heaviness, there is a weight to it. It is metal, but it's also not in many places. I talked about the jazzier melodies that we have from the vocals, some poppier sections that we have. There's the piano at the end. Duh. The entire piano outro. As if to say, from a musical perspective, yes, this is metal, but it's not the only aspect to it. There's these other sides of me, there's other facets. And that does sort of line up with the lyrical themes, though I think I might be grasping at straws from that perspective. Regardless, that wraps this video up. Those are my thoughts on LILI Refrain. Apollonir, Winterhorde, and Martin Gonzalez. What a day. Really great stuff. Drop me some comments. Let me know if you enjoyed any of this, if there's anything you're going to be looking forward to checking out in the future. If you agree with anything that I said, disagree, maybe you have your own perspectives on any of these. Let me know if you're going to be further diving into any of this music as well. In the description box, instead of my links that I'll usually put there, of course, since it's a Sounds from My Inbox, we're going to have links for all the bands, all their social medias, homepage, merch sites, streaming platforms, all of that, in order to help you find and get easy access to whatever you need from these groups. Whether you want to engage with them on social media or just listen to their music or buy some merch, pick up some CDs, whatever. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three. And if you head to any of their social medias or YouTube pages, make sure that you also heart, like, thumbs up, whatever the platform does. Show them some love from the critical community. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.